Thank you, Freak. Not as clean a second win as their first win. However, another fantastic start. They built a 7K gold lead within the first 25 minutes of the game. So have to hand it to them there, as well as the fact that they are showing they are not afraid of flares in the top lane.
Not at all.
GP first pick in game one. Olaf first pick in game two. After the gangplank gets banned out, they're basically saying we know that this is a winning lane, is a winning matchup for us.
Yeah, just first picking those aggressive top laners, just having no care in the world. He feels like he can win every matchup against it. It's kind of like embarrassing, actually. I kind of feel bad.
Well, on top of that, too, they also put a lot of focus into the top lane this time around. Shrimp making multiple visits up there to really, you know, sway that matchup.
Yeah, and Chris had some team fighting problems later that had troubles with him exercising that lead. But honestly, the camp they put on Flares was brutal. The first gank was misplayed pretty heavily by Flares early on. But after that, it was just like a total stomp. That was the third time Flares has started the game 0-5-0.
In just this split.
Just this split. Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, not a statistic that you want to have.
So it means he's vulnerable to jungle camping. He doesn't necessarily deal with
Yeah,
it. So
hey, a lot of people
by...
have statistics they don't want. So.
We were looking up the stat.
Hey,
he was like, please, I don't want to be worse.
Yeah. Not pointing any fingers.
I love it. Well, so as we mentioned, the GP ban did come through in place of the Thresh, as we had suspected. You know, however, the Azir still falling to that second rotation there for Coast. So again, enemy being pretty clear in saying we have no intention of playing that normally high priority champion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enox did play the Victor matchup against that very well. I don't think Azir shined even closely as much as it did the game one. So maybe the Azir thing is fine. Azir as a champion just seems so oppressive. I mean, we're watching it not only here, but in the past 3 days, we can see how highly contested it is. So maybe they would want to tackle it, but I feel like they might just do the same plan as they did game two and maybe polish some things.
Now, I do want to jump into our first replay, as we have two. 30 minutes into the game around the Dragon, enemy comes away from this 3-0 plus the Baron. Kiwi, you actually had some interesting insight as to teams that find themselves with large leads in comps that they may not have expected to have them with. So if you don't mind walking us through this one, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so they feel super ahead. They just got Dragon, but Chris wants to fight. He just runs into Victor. Like, oh, wait, I don't have a team. He's like yelling for his team, but he realized he doesn't have one. And there's a split fight. Great ult by Flares. Kind of locks everybody up. Double ult from Victor as well. There's a two threats. Azir and Sivir just locked up into Dragon Pit. They don't have flash. Pretty clean fight. Chris wasn't able to peel for them. And it was just simple. And
it was basically coming down to Chris in that fight, making it a 4v5. And then despite the 0-5-0 start from Flares, he had a great Malphite ultimate in there. And this was actually more similar to the enemy we saw during the regular season, who was weak in the early game, but still managed to pull out some victories. That's why in the first game, when they actually had an early game lead, we're like, oh man, maybe enemy will be able to do something. Maybe they can snowball this. But then they couldn't close, which would be heartbreaking.
No matter how far down you are, a champion's still a champion. I mean, yeah, maybe if you really messed up game, maybe they can kill Flares 4 times and every time he dies, it gets rid of one spell, or one ability.
Malphite ult still works.
Yeah, you can still get an R button.
Malphite ult is always relevant.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Let's move ahead, though, to our next replay, 36 minutes into the game, because this is where we see kind of the same thing happen, but for Coast this time around, 3-0 in the mid lane.
Yeah, and this one was while Coast was trying to pull off the Olaf split push again and again, and a lot of times it wasn't working necessarily perfectly. So we can just watch here. They're already down in the hip, but they find an initiation. And this was really all Conquan. He flashes in and flays Otter out of the rocket jump.
Yeah,
the very, pretty much last pixel of the flay caught Otter. That puts him in the hook, and at this point they can freely chase on. Even though Inox is dumping a bunch of damage, it's just not enough. And Chris also beat Malphite to that fight because his teleport
might have been
actually complete. I think Malphite actually canceled the teleport because he realized the fight was lost. But because that actually made the game not end right there. I think if Malphite teleports in, 4 people die, the game is over. Specifically, though, it was the Thresh. Like, it was just a spectacular individual play.
Yeah, great job by Conquan and Shrimp, kind of just seeing everything and playing very, skill-dependent champions and just playing solidly throughout the whole thing, and that's what any team needs.
All right, well, there you have it. We'll see if Team Coast can sweep Enemy to lock in their place in the North American LCS. Stay with us. The Spring Promotion Tournament continues after this.
I'm gonna take off my shoes, guys.
In honor of Maple.
I always do that, actually.
But a kill still comes through. Trashy dies. Oh, dear Lord. Chris refuses to die. They're going to get 3. And they're still trading blows back and forth. Trip to the front line. 1 hit away from down as well. Body drop going to be... No! The flash, but it's going to be enough afterwards with the axe coming through.
Backline. Right here. Backline.
I'm helping Brand.
Backline.
On Elise.
We got them. Baron.
Nice. Go back.
Nice shot.
Chris. Chris flash. Okay.
I got him.
Keep going.
I'm on TP.
Yeah. Victor. I got it.
We can end it.
Where's the rest of the engage going to be? Chris gets the ulti back in the front line, and he's unstoppable, killing a body drop. Otter's next. Peak will take him down. They are now 1 game away from rejoining the North American LCS.